Previously on Hannibal.
Is your social worker in that horse?
Okay, so season 3, recapping what happened in the season 2 finale to understand what happens at the beginning of season 3. Hannibal has somehow managed to flee the country, and he has gone to Florence in Italy, and he has taken Bedelia, his psychiatrist, with him. And he has also brainwashed her, but we don't know that yet. And he's kind of trying to live this secret life with a new identity in Florence. And so that's what happens. And then later on, Will and Jack go looking for him. But yeah, anyway, so Bedelia and Hannibal pretend to be a married couple, and they're having someone over for dinner. And the best part of the scene is that Bedelia, she seems like she's totally sloshed through this whole scene, which makes a lot of sense given that all she's had to eat is oysters, acorns, and wine. So of course she's plastered. It's just so funny that she's like, my husband likes to eat me out.
My husband has a very sophisticated palate. He's very particular about how I taste.
Is it that kind of party?
And Hannibal looks at the dinner guest and he's like, it's not that kind of party.
It's not that kind of party.
Oh, and that same guy at the dinner party, there's absolutely no other way to interpret this other than he really wants to just have sex with Hannibal. I can't tell you what else he's trying to say in this scene where he says, like, I'm here to help you untwist.
Are you here to twist me into an uncomfortable position?
I'm here to help you untwist. To our mutual benefit.
What am I supposed to take from the scene, Brian? Hannibal is getting tired of being away from Will, so he makes a heart out of a corpse. Yes, really. It does make it a little easier to look at it if you just pretend it's a really big rotisserie chicken. So yeah, Hannibal sends a Valentine's heart to Will, and that's all that was said. That's all you need to know.
Valentine written on a broken man.
He sent you his heart.
So Hannibal, he stabs a guy in the head with an ice pick, and then Bedelia is like, okay, that's fucking enough. I've had enough. And she goes over and she pulls the ice pick out of this guy's head, and he dies. And then Hannibal says, technically, you killed him.
Technically, you killed him.
What a bastard. Hannibal is washing Bedelia's hair while she's in the bath. And they're talking about Hannibal's dead sister. And then Bedelia says, though, how did your sister taste when you ate her, you sick fuck?
How did your sister taste?
And then she just goes, bye, and floats into the water. So Jack goes to Florence looking for Hannibal. And he's talking to an investigator. And there's a really tense scene where they're like talking about illegal stuff. Like they're like, hey, we can't do this inside of the law. We're going to have to do it outside of the law, if you know what I mean.
It has inclined you towards a game that's outside of the law. I know. I played that game.
And then they have to break up the really tense scene by having Jack mispronounce pasta. That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah.
Let's eat.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. How beautiful.
Pasta?
This is pappardelle alla lepre. Can you say it?
Pappardelle?
No, it's not pappardelle.
No,
it's pappardelle.
Pappardelle.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, with lepre.
Ah, thank you.
So last season, Mason, he cut off his own face partially to feed to Will's dogs as he was under the influence of psychedelic drugs. I know that sounds really wild when you put it like that. It makes a lot of sense when you watch the show, I swear to God. And he has this new weird face, and he kind of looks like he's from Whoville or something. He looks really weird, unintentionally weird. And there's this scene where he's For some reason, he's doing his best Mae West impersonation, where he goes, "I bet you taste sweet, Dr. Bloom." Ow.
How do you taste, Dr. Bloom? Sweet, I bet. I'm sure you got a taste of him, too.
How many bones do I win?
How many bones do you want? Oh. See you after the show, Bubbles. Oh.
And then Alana does her best to just ignore him and just be like, anyway, so, in a completely, seemingly unnecessary moment where Hannibal is eating a pear like a rich psychopath, because he is. Hannibal and Will go to an art gallery for like a final quiet moment together before everything breaks loose. And they have a really like romantic moment together where they're like confessing to each other everything about their feelings and stuff.
If I saw you every day, forever, Will, I would remember this time.
Strange seeing you here in front of me. Been staring at after images of you in places you haven't been in years.
And then for some reason, Hannibal just talks about, like, something about jiggity-piggity, and why did he do that? Why did he start talking about pigs?
To market, to buy a fat pig. Home again, jiggity-jig.
I wanted to understand you.
Like, he's doing, like, a nursery rhyme about pigs or something. It's just like, there's this nice moment, and then you had to ruin it, didn't you? Anyway, Hannibal turns on Will and intends to eat his brains, but first he serves Will some soup, and Will is like, this soup tastes terrible. And Hannibal is like, it's not for your sake. Eat up.
Soup isn't very good.
It's a parsley and thyme infusion, and more for my sake than yours.
So I'm not going to show the scene where Will gets his head cut open, almost. I am going to show his point of view, what he sees while his head is getting sawed open. Because for some reason, when he looks at Jack's face has turned into a Snapchat filter. Why did they do it like this? It looks so goofy. It's supposed to be really serious and horrifying, and it just looks goofy. Out of all the seasons, the only time where Hannibal is genuinely having a fun time because he's allowed to be the psychopath that he is at this sort of dinner party from hell thrown by Mason, who wants to kill Will and Hannibal slowly.
I'm curious, what will be the first cuts of me you'll serve?
The first course, of course, will be your hands and feet, sizzling on a Promethean barbecue. The coal is white and very hard. It makes a clear ringing sound when struck.
You've thought of everything.
And he's just having so much fun. Hannibal is really like, ooh, I can finally be an out and about cannibal. Yay. I don't know. He's having fun. He does like to have fun. And then Mason recalls this story of another cannibal, and he talks about an overcooked penis. And then the camera cuts to some sausages.
You boys remind me of that German cannibal who advertised for a friend and then ate him and his penis before he died. Tragedy being, the penis was overcooked.
Okay, we get it. Yet another moment that's absolutely going into the top 5 best of moments. So, the Will and Hannibal are held captive, like I said, by Mason. And then when this guy who is serving food for them, he leans in a little too close, and then he snaps up, and he bites off his face. I love it. It's super gross, and I'm reluctant to show it to you, but I have to because it's part of the fun of it. And I don't know why I find it so funny, but I just do.
Wow. No pajama party for you, Mr. Graham.
And the best part of that scene is that Will is clearly like, he's on a different plane of existence from all of the crazy shit happening around him. So he's barely there. But Hannibal, he's sitting there like, yeah. He looks so, I don't know if you call it enamored. Like, he's so pleased with what's happening to Will. And he's really, it's really just, oh man. What a scene. What a scene it is.
Does it feel good?
The best death scene in the whole show probably is Mason's, because he dies by deep-throating a moray eel. And that's the only way I can describe it. And the only way you need to describe it, because it's what happens. And it's baffling. Hannibal bridal carries Will all the way from Muskrat Farms, where Mason lives, back to Wolf Trap. And no, I don't know how long that is, but it's gonna be a pretty long while. And back at Will's house, they have a conversation about like what the hell's gonna happen next, because obviously the FBI is gonna go after Hannibal now, and he is absolutely going to be imprisoned. And then Will says, I miss my dogs, and I'm not gonna miss you.
I miss my dogs. I'm not gonna miss you.
Like, okay, twist the knife some more, Will. Why don't you? I really loved the article headline that Freddie Lounds chose for Hannibal. She calls it Kitchen Nightmare, as if Gordon Ramsay is involved. I just love that detail. Now we skip 3 years, and Will has made an... Oh my god, stop! There's a fly in my... Ah! And now Hannibal has been in the BSHUSI for 3 years. Meanwhile, Will has made a new family with his wife, Molly, and his stepson Wally. In that 3-year time skip, Alana has married Margot, and they have a son together. And yeah, that's why it's so funny when Alana says to Hannibal, I do love a good finger wagging. And Hannibal says, anyway, how's Margot doing?
You've come to wag your finger?
I love a good finger wagging.
Yes, you do. How is Margot?
Stupid little lesbian joke. Will is confronted by Freddie Lounds, and he says, you called us murder husbands in her article. And she says, Will, you did run off to Europe together, so...
You called us murder husbands.
You did run off to Europe together.
It's just a nice bit of self-awareness, because I'm pretty sure Murder Husbands was the name that the Fannibals had given Will and Hannibal. So it's kind of nice to see a show where they actually acknowledge the fans, you know, saying that, oh, you made up this ship name for these two characters and we're going to mention it here. I don't know. I think that's kind of nice. It kind of warms my raisins. Will calls his wife from the hotel room. He's working on this case to track down the Red Dragon murderer. And he calls up Molly, and they start having this conversation, and it's just...
Randy's got huge balls.
That's never mind about it.
They almost drag on the ground. He has to retract them when he runs. Can you retract yours?
I retracted them once when I was a kid. Had to clear a barbed wire fence carrying a stolen watermelon.
She's like, have you ever tucked your junk, Will? And he says, yeah. Will goes and confronts Bedelia. And for some reason he says this, where he's like, you were the bride of Frankenstein. Ha, gotcha, bitch. And then Bedelia says, and what does that make you?
You hitched your star to a man commonly known as a monster. You're the bride of Frankenstein.
We've both been his bride.
Stupid idiot, Will. You really walked yourself into that one. So, Will straight up asks Bedelia if Hannibal is in love with him.
Is Hannibal in love with me?
And basically, Bedelia's answer is, yeah.
Yes.
He sure is. How did you not notice, you idiot? Another great, no context needed moment where Will says,
Not only is the tooth fairy insane, he is ugly and impotent.
Another moment that just sort of lives rent-free in my head is just Hannibal goes slurp. He just goes, and the moment where Hannibal says, I was rooting for you, Will.
I was rooting for you, Will.
And all I can think of is, we were all rooting for you, how dare you?
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
Bedelia insults Will like a sort of final stance against him.
You righteous, reckless, twitchy little man.
And I swear, in my head, she says, you righteous, reckless, sweaty, ticklish, nasty, pasty little man. Like, she just goes on and on about all the nasty things she can call Will. So the FBI needs Hannibal to catch the Red Dragon. So they're gonna release him from custody. But Hannibal has one condition for helping them, which is that he wants Will to be the one to do it. And he wants him to say, pretty please.
Hannibal has tentatively agreed to the deal as proposed.
What will it take to make him less tentative?
He wants Will to ask him. And he wants you to say please.
I'll say pretty please.
What a bitch. I love him. Then Hannibal says that thing about a mic drop, and it's just, oh man, finally.
I believe that's what they call a mic drop. You drop the mic, Will.
The Red Dragon shoots down the police escort, and Hannibal is freed from his harness. And he immediately just goes and takes a car, and he's like, hey, Will, get in, loser. We're going to my beach house. In the final showdown, Hannibal is lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood because the Red Dragon shot him. And it's like a callback to the time where Hannibal stabbed Will in his kitchen. And Will is lying on the floor. And now Will is the one with the leverage, and he's just standing over Hannibal, and he's like, yeah, see how you like it now, bitch. And that was it for season 3. Finally, I do have some, what do they call it? The mentionables. I have like bonuses, bonus moments, things that didn't fit into the other things that are just sort of like general stuff. So first of all, I haven't mentioned much about how often Hannibal makes Hannibal jokes. Like, it's so incredibly often, especially in season 1, that he makes like cannibal puns.
Well, next time, bring your wife. I'd love to have you both for dinner. You promised to deliver your wife to my dinner table.
What am I about to put in my mouth?
Rabbit.
He should have hopped faster.
Yes, he should have. But fortunately for us, he did not.
I don't think I've ever had tongue before.
It was a particularly chatty lamb. And as this evening has already proven, it's nice to have an old friend for dinner.
It's just so good. Every time he makes a stupid pun and then he smiles to himself like he's got an in-joke with himself. Man. So the thing about Hannibal being played by Mads Mikkelsen is that Mads Mikkelsen got, sort of international fame. He broke America after Casino Royale because he's got this kind of menacing accent. And Americans have never heard a Danish accent before. So they kind of assume that it could be kind of anything. It's like a vaguely European accent. And that's the thing is that he's doing a Danish accent through the whole show, even though he's playing a Lithuanian man who has migrated from like Lithuania to Italy, and then he was definitely also in France at some point in his childhood, I think, before going to Baltimore, of all places. So the thing about Mads speaking, the voice he chose for Hannibal, is that it's kind of funny to me that he's doing a Danish accent all the time, and no one will really ever realize that except for Danes. So that's kind of funny to me. Also, a lot of the time I just can't understand what Mess is saying, because he has this kind of a mush mouth. He has these big duck lips, so when he talks, he goes kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of clips where I was literally like, I've absolutely no idea what he's saying, or like I had to go back and rewatch to get any kind of idea of what he was saying without subtitles on.
He dropped a church roof on 34 of his worshippers last Wednesday night in Texas. Jack Crawford has gotten your hands very dirty. Instead, you find yourself in a behavior pattern you can't break. No thoughts in the bone arena of your skull for things you love.
So yeah, I can't understand what Hannibal is saying most of the time. Because of a creative choice. Throughout the seasons, there's this sort of a character that some people call the Stag Man, and it's supposed to be like Will's imagination conjuring an image of what the Chesapeake Ripper looks like in a sort of fantasy setting. And he's so ugly, like so incredibly ugly to look at, and I know that it's kind of on purpose, but he is supposed to look sort of like Hannibal, and yet not at all, because he looks so unsettling. And I think it's so funny every time they do any sort of close-up on him, and you see his ugly face again. He looks like a bog man, let's be real here. I haven't mentioned at all how much I love Eddie Izzard's performance. She's just living her best life in this series as Abel Gideon. She's really hamming it up a lot of the time, just having fun with it.
What effect were you hoping to have by killing the night nurse?
The effect I was hoping to have was her death. Mission accomplished.
I was really surprised to see like how great of an actor she is, like really. So I had never seen her in anything serious before, which is also kind of funny. Like, she's a comedian.
But the actual inventor of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, wanted people to say something else when they picked up a phone. What was it?
Does look like he's talking to a very small Loch Ness monster, doesn't it?
And I had never expected to see her in a serious role like this, but she's great in it. And Abel Gideon is probably one of the best villain characters in the show. So that was nice. And when it comes to other favorite characters, I love the dynamic duo that is Price and Seller, the two forensic scientists that follow you through the whole show, but aren't really sort of important characters. They're just really there for comic relief. And I love them because they act like they belong on a different TV show, like a sitcom about two wacky forensic scientists.
So Dollarhide snuffs out Lang, takes the dead body back to the house, then does this whole thing with the blind lady song and dance. Will I shoot you? Won't I shoot you? I can't stand to see you burn. Boo-hoo! And then blows Lang's head away with a 12 gauge.
The thing about Chilton, his character, is that it almost becomes comedic how often he is close to dying. In a show where almost everyone who is like in danger of dying dies. Well, I mean, that's not actually true, because Will survived a couple of times. What I mean is, in a show where there's so much murder, Frederick somehow survives everything, even down to the final season. Okay, so in season 1, he gets disemboweled. It's super gross. I'm not going to show any of it. He survives that amazingly. Then in season 2, he gets shot in the face. I'm not going to show that either. Amazingly, and survives that. And the freaky thing about these two first murder attempts is that it's not told to us if he survived them until he shows up again the next season. So in season 1, we're supposed to assume that he's dead from being disemboweled. And then in season 2, we're also supposed to assume that he's dead from being shot in the face. And then he shows up in season 3 and he's like, well, I'm a little worse for wear, but I'm still going. And then he gets his lip chewed off by the red dragon, and then the red dragon sets him on fire. And he survives. And it's just like he won't die. Like Chilton is the character that won't die. And it's just incredible that even though he looks like a burnt chicken nugget, I still love him. And I also love that Frederick sits like a bisexual whenever he's alone in his office. I swear to God, he does this every single time you see him in his office. This isn't strictly part of the series, but there are gag reels for every season, and they're all spectacular. Like, a show that is so dark and full of murder has like the funniest gag reel. And my favorite moment is one where Hugh Dancy, who plays Will Graham, he trips over a bag. And it's just like a series of events that he manages to trip over things all the time. Several times in the gag reel, it's just him tripping over things. And I think that's just so funny.
I'm clumsy, made friends with the floor.
Finally, my very last thoughts are, it's baffling to me that this show, which has so much gore, so much blood, so much things you shouldn't see, basically, they censored the nude paintings. The nude paintings that are classical paintings that have, been exhibited for hundreds of years. They were censored by NBC because that was too much. And that's it. Good night. That's enough. I can't top that. That is all of the best moments of the entirety of the Hannibal series. And now I will never have to make any more videos about this again, because I think I've exhausted the market now. And so now I just want to keep going. And I hope there's going to be a season 4. I'm not going to wait too long for it, though. But There's a little petal in my soup. Anyway, that's it for season 3 through 1 and 2. What am I saying? Whatever. That's it for the whole Hannibal series. And man, what a ride it's been. So at last, if you haven't seen it yet, I really do recommend going out and seeing it, even though it's a lot of the time super gross and kind of horrifying. And but it's so much fun a lot of the time and really very beautiful. I haven't shown off just the artistic level of quality that goes into every single frame of the show. It's incredible just how much love was put into the show, really. But it's a lot of fun, and you got to check it out for yourself. And if you don't, then I will force you to watch it with me at the next lunch break where I'll be seeing you. So, I do like to have fun. And that's it. Bon appetit. And have a nice day. Goodbye. That's it. You're going in the soup. Sorry that the audio is kind of crappy right now. I didn't feel like setting up my microphone just to get this shot of me talking for the outro. So enjoy lo-fi sounds of me eating. For all his flaws, Hannibal really did know what's good, because organs are really underrated. They're very delicious, more than people would think. So try some kidneys, honestly, they're really good. Just, don't eat them from people. Is that the moral of this video? Is don't eat people? Unless it's for television. Wait. Anyway, bon appetit. Oh, tomato, you understand me. Bye.